welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be 10 dolly confessions. These are confessions that I have about my personal doll collecting story, I guess you could say, that some other people may find strange or that other collectors wouldn't be able to believe that a doll collector could, you know, have these confessions to make. So with that being said, I hope you guys will enjoy this list, and let me know in the comments if you have any weird confessions to make about your doll collecting, or let me know if any of these things are things that you also do. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. Number 10 on my doll confession list is I must confess that I never leave home without a doll. Now, I barely leave home at all anymore right now, but that being said, I have this is my daily driver, so to speak, for my purse, and it is a Sport Sack Barbie purse. Inside this purse, I always have a doll of some shape or form. Now, I'm going to show you guys what's in there right now. Right now, I have a Rose action figure from Star Wars. Now, maybe you wouldn't consider this a doll. I kind of do. You know, I consider action figures dolls. They're in the same sort of category, but they did Rose so dirty, y'all, in the last movie, and so I had to buy her action figure and take her with me everywhere because I just felt like they just did her wrong. So I've got Rose. Another one that's always in my purse is an Ewok, which is here. So he's always there. This is Wicket. I also always have a Jar Jar Binks action figure in my purse, except for this very moment because I had him out earlier doing something else with him. But this all started with this doll. This doll is one of the first really ball jointed. She's not technically ball jointed, I think, from what the community calls ball jointed, but she's one of the June Planning AI dolls. We call her Ropdy, and Ropdy is spelled R-O-P-D, which means regular old purse doll. I used to carry her in my purse everywhere I went. Sometimes she's still the one that goes along, and sometimes I take a different one. But the whole idea for me is you never know when the perfect dolly moment is going to pop up, and so I always have some sort of doll with me when I leave the house, whether it be Ropdy or whether it be something else that I pull off the shelf in my doll room. I just don't leave the house without a doll because you never know what sort of misadventures you're going to get into. I mean, if I get in a car crash and I'm stranded in a ravine for 5 days, I want a doll with me. So anyway, that is confession number 10. Number 9 on my list is that I cannot remember all of their names. I actually confessed that to a doll friend of mine once, and she couldn't believe that I couldn't remember their names. Now, part of that problem, as you see, is that I just have a lot of dolls, and it's hard to remember all of their names. And so one of the things, here's a side confession, I like to make unboxing videos so that I can remember every little piece and every name and everything that goes with the doll, because if I forget something, I can go back and check the unboxing and see what came with the doll and what the doll's name was and what the COA looked like and stuff like that. But it is very hard for me to remember their names. I almost never name a doll on my own. Like a lot of people, a lot of collectors, when they get a doll, they don't ever keep the company or the artist name. They change the name of a doll. I almost never do that because I can't remember them. And I don't know if that's the old age, I don't know if that's the MS, or I don't know if that's just a normal human thing because of the amount of dolls that I have. So I can't remember their names, so I very rarely change them. I can give you one example of a doll that I did change her name, and that is my Petal Mamoni, which, by the way, they're on pre-order right now. Her name is Lilu. I named her Lilu because of my Coco Mamoni. I call her Mamoni, and so I did actually give her a separate name of Lilu, which miraculously I'm able to remember somehow. But it's very difficult for me to remember doll names when I give them different names, and a lot of times I'll actually confuse the artist name with the sculpt name, and so I try not to do that. I have to make a conscious effort to separate the doll name from the artist name, but that's just one of my weird quirks. So that is Dolly confession number 9. Number 8 on Dolly confessions is that it bothers me when people call dolls creepy. I see people do it all the time, and I understand that some people are genuinely afraid of dolls, and I kind of attribute that to the old horror trope of having a haunted doll or a doll that's a killer doll. I mean, you look at Saw, you look at Chucky, Annabelle, all those are scary dolls, and they truly are creepy. But what I don't like is when people call regular dolls creepy. I recently saw a thread where in both Poupées dolls and Pasha Pasha dolls were called creepy. Now they have exaggerated, you know, proportions and exaggerated body types, but I don't think there's anything about these dolls that are creepy. I feel like they're, you know, beautiful works of art, and so it's kind of like, I wish people wouldn't call them creepy. It's one thing, there are dolls, and I'm not gonna lie, there are dolls that disturb me and that I would not have in my collection, but I can also understand and appreciate the artistry that goes into those dolls. So it's one of those things, like, I hate to be so childish or so grade school about it, but it's like, if you don't have something nice to say, just don't say anything at all, because it, you know, it does bother me when people say stuff like that. And it doesn't bother me because they're in my collection. That's not what it is. It's because the artist spends so much time working on these dolls, and, you know, I feel like, I don't know, it's just, I don't like people saying that dolls are creepy. Now, I'm going to tell you a funny story, which is kind of one of those things where, okay, you get a creepy pass on this. So my brother-in-law was staying with us. This has been years ago. When my mom lived here with us while she was building her house, and we actually had my husband and I shared this room as our hobby room. So one half of this room was dolls, the other half was his sound equipment, and we had a bed in here, if you can imagine. So my Animators collection Small World dolls were kind of above where the bed was, and in the middle of the night, one of them fell on my brother-in-law's head and started singing. So needless to say, he was very disturbed by that, and I can get that. So he gets a pass for calling that creepy, because honestly, that would probably freak me out a little bit too in the middle of the night, especially if I weren't a doll person. But that story is like, okay, so you get a pass for that, but I don't, to me, you know, calling other types of like art dolls and stuff creepy, it bothers me when people do that. Everybody has a right to their opinion, of course. But I just feel like, you know, the sculptors and the artists put so much work into these dolls. You know, I would rather just not say anything if I didn't like it than to kind of go bash them and call them creepy. So that was my number 8 confession. Number 7 on my list of Dolly confessions is that late at night when I'm sleepy, I shop for dolls on my phone, and it is very dangerous. I get on Etsy and buy clothes. I get on Instagram and look around. I get on all kind of company sites and buy things. It is a dangerous habit. So I suffer from what is called midsomnia, which is I fall asleep just fine at night. I have no problem falling asleep. But if I get woken up in the middle of the night, which happens from time to time, I cannot go back to sleep, and I end up picking up my phone and starting to go through it, and then I end up shopping. One time, if you've seen my Doong video from the dolls from Korea, the haul, that was a huge haul that I bought at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I found them and I just did a bunch of shopping. What's funny is my neurologist wrote me a prescription for Ambien, which I refuse to take because I've read about the side effects of Ambien, and if I already shop that much when I'm just kind of sleepy, I can't imagine what I might do on Ambien, because I've read that people gamble and go driving and buy purchases they don't remember and eat food and not remember it. And while that doesn't happen to most people, I understand. I just have this feeling that it would happen to me because I already do it when I'm tired. So, you know, but I've bought some of my best purchases when I've been sleepy at night. I've gotten some really great wigs and some really great clothing and things like that. But I've also gone overboard, like with the Didungs that I bought from Korea. It was just too many. I bought too many of them, and when they got here, I was like, what did I do? And I ended up selling almost all of them. I still have a few of them, but I did not need that many of those dolls. So anyway, that is confession number 7. Late night shopping for me is very dangerous. Confession number 6 is that I dream about dolls very frequently. The most common dream that I have is that I'm at a thrift store and there is a big pile of American Girl dolls, and there's lots of them, and I'm trying to get them all in my arms, and I can't hold them all because there's too many, and I'm afraid to go back and get a cart because I'm afraid somebody will pick them up. That is a very frequent dream that I have, which is crazy. I also had another dream recently that I shared on my Instagram where I dreamed that I got a full set doll from a special artist. And that dream actually came true, guys, so stay tuned on my channel to see that coming up. And I'm not going to say any more about that. If you want to see more about it, go to my Instagram. But I have that dream a lot. I have the dream, you know, the thrift store dream, and like I said, it's frequently American Girl dolls, but it's other types of dolls too. I've dreamed that there were BJDs at a thrift store, which I've never found that before. I have seen some people that actually have found BJDs at a thrift store, but it's really funny, and it's kind of, I guess it's kind of weird, but I guess if you go to bed with dolls on your mind, that's what's going to happen. So that is my confession number 6, that I frequently dream about dolls. Confession number 5 is that all that it takes sometimes is one picture to influence me to buy a doll. And I've got a perfect example of that here, my Eugenie by Creatures Dolls. This is Novgorod. I saw this one picture of this particular doll. It was just a picture. I didn't read anything else about her. I hadn't seen anything else, and I knew I had to have this doll. That picture was so perfect. She was so perfectly posed, styled, dressed, everything. I knew I had to have one. And sometimes, you know, I'll see owner pictures of dolls, and it will totally send me on a quest to find that doll. And Ondine is sort of an example of that. And the way I mean that is, I actually saw an Ondine in person, but it was Make Me Real Dolls Ondine. It was an L doll, and when I saw her Ondine, and then the way she had styled her and everything about that doll, the moment I saw her, I knew I had to have one, and I bought one. The same color that she has and everything. And so that's sometimes all it takes. I know a lot of people spend, you know, a lot of time thinking about dolls, whether they want to buy them or not, and will do a lot of research into it before they buy one. I'm a little bit more impulsive than that. I can see one picture. I don't care, you know, how many joints the doll has or stuff like that. What size the doll is. If I see it and it's beautiful and I want it, that's kind of the end of the story for me. So that is my confession number 5, is that sometimes all it takes is just one picture to sell me on a doll. Number 4 confession is that I actually play with my dolls. And what do I mean by play? I don't do role playing or anything like that, but you can see I put them in my light box, I change the clothes on them, I do all sorts of different poses and things. These are the 3 dolls that I've been changing and playing with this weekend. So I actually do really enjoy my dolls to the fullest. You know, they don't all get attention every day because I don't have time for that, but I do play with the dolls that I get by changing their clothes and setting them up in pictures, and then I'll set them up in this display, for example. And that is, you know, one of the ways that I enjoy my dolls a lot is by playing with them, changing their clothes, posing them, changing changing their wigs and eyes and just seeing different combinations for each doll. So I think a lot of collectors, you know, they're the mitten box type of collectors where they get a doll, they put it on a shelf and they never touch it again. That is 100% not me. I play with every one of my dolls. I change them all the way up from my least expensive dolls to my most expensive dolls. You know, they're there for me to enjoy. And so if I'm going to have them here, I want to enjoy them. So that is my dolly confession number 4. Confession number 3 is that I love my thrift store dolls as much as I love my artist dolls. And let me tell you about that. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of story on this doll. This doll cost me about 25 cents. This is a very special doll. She is Prima Perez from the Juanita Perez line. They are manufactured in Mexico. They've never been sold here in the United States, never. And I went to the Goodwill outlet. This has been about probably 8 or 9 years ago. The Goodwill outlet here has changed. They don't have toys anymore. But back when the Goodwill outlet had toys, you could go and you could buy toys and you buy them by the pound. They actually weigh them out and you purchase the toys by the pound. And I was digging through the bin of toys, as one does, and they had 2 Prima Perez dolls. So I got her and a blonde one. And of all the people in Charlotte, North Carolina to have found these dolls, it was me, who is a avid Juanita Perez collector. I love these dolls so much. I couldn't believe the luck I had that day. It's probably, I would say, my best thrift store find to date, because these dolls are hard to get here, and the fact that I got them, and not only the fact that I got them, but at less than $1 a piece. Like, are you kidding me? So this is I did a big blog post about it back when I first got them, which, like I said, has been years ago because I rarely blog anymore, but gosh, I love this doll so much. I also love my Poupées sisters doll. This is my Tawny Owl, and she is one of the most expensive dolls in my collection. So I think a lot of people, they will trade up and they, don't see the same value between the 2 kinds of dolls. But I really, honestly, truly, I get just as thrilled over a find like this as getting a doll like this. And I think that's the thing about doll collecting, is you don't have to have really expensive dolls to be a genuine collector and to be excited about collecting dolls. I can't even describe to you the emotions that went through my body when I found this doll. And then I kept digging and there was another one there. There were 2 there. Gosh, that was so awesome. Like, I'm reliving it right now thinking about it. What an awesome day that was to find both of these dolls. And like I said, of all the collectors in the Charlotte area, for me to have been the one, because, this could have been a parent could have bought this for their child, which is fine. I mean, that's fine. But I'm a person that really appreciates these dolls so much and had wanted them for my collection, and she was there. So I think there's nothing wrong with, having a great love for Playline dolls and for thrift store dolls. Thrift store finds are some of the best dolls in my collection, like this one. So that is my confession number 3, is that I love my thrift store dolls just as much as my expensive artist dolls. Confession number 2 is that I sometimes take a doll to bed with me. Now, that may sound very salacious, but let me explain. When I get a new doll that I really love, or let's say I get a project in my mind for a particular doll that I get really excited about, I usually go lay down in the bed pretty early, around 7:30 or 8. And sometimes I'll bring the doll with me to bed because I don't plan to go to sleep right away. I just go lay down and I'll sit and look at the doll and I'll, appreciate it, especially like I said, if it's a new doll that I've just gotten. Remember when you were a kid and you got a new doll? What did you do with it? You would take it to bed and you would sleep with it under your arm that night. Now, of course, you can't do that with these dolls, and I wouldn't want to because I sleep poorly enough with all the extras that we have in the bed. But I will bring them to bed and I will set them on my nightstand so I can continue to appreciate them throughout the night while I'm, before I go to sleep. Now, it has happened once or twice that I'll be looking at a doll and my husband will be in his audio room doing whatever, and I'll end up laying her down and I'll fall asleep, and he's come to bed and accidentally laid down on it, and he'll kind of fuss at me like, hey, don't lay these in the bed like this. These are expensive dolls. And like, I know, but sometimes I just fall asleep and I can't help it. But it's like a thing, you know, for me to appreciate my dolls even more, right before I'm going to sleep. And when I get them, you know, when I get a project on my mind, like I was saying, and it's something that I'm really thinking about, I'll bring the doll so I can kind of continue to be inspired by the doll, and I will continue to, you know, look at her and decide kind of what I want to do. So I guess that's something that harkens back to childhood. Like when you were a kid and you would get a new doll that you were really excited about, and you would sleep with that doll actually in the bed with you. And so I think that's kind of what this is it's, you know, it's just kind of like that. It reminds me of childhood, but it also allows me to kind of continue that excitement and appreciation of that doll into the night. So that is my confession number 2. Confession number 1 that I have to make is that I would not be married to my wonderful husband today if it were not for dolls. And you may wonder, how in the heck is that even possible? Well, let me tell you guys. We were casually acquainted, but I needed to learn Spanish better than what Senora Mrs. Peggy Hill taught me in high school, because I needed to buy dolls from Spanish-speaking countries, specifically Juanita Perez and Nancy Famosa. This is a Spanish doll from Spain, and this is a Mexican doll from Mexico. And my Spanish was not anywhere near the level that it needed to be so that I could buy these dolls. So I started messaging with him and asking him if he could help me with my Spanish, because he was bilingual in English and Spanish. And the rest is pretty much history. So this is actually the first doll he ever gifted me before we were even married. We had only been dating for a couple of months, and he had a friend that went to Mexico City, and he had the friend actually go to Palacio de Hierro and find a Juanita Perez that did not have blue eyes, because all the Juanitas I had at the time had bright blue eyes, and I wanted one without blue eyes. And his friend actually, you know, went and found one for me, and he gifted me this, the first doll he ever gifted me. And so he's indulged me ever since. So my husband very much indulges me in the dolls. Maybe that's because he knows that's why we're married today. I don't really know. But anyway, he did help me with my Spanish. Y ahora puedo hablar, leer y entender español, y más importante, comprar muñecas en español. So I am so glad to have met my husband, and I would not honestly be married to him today if it weren't for dolls, because my desperation to learn Spanish well enough to buy these dolls led to us talking more and messaging more in English and Spanish, and now we're married, and we're having our 10-year anniversary next week, you guys. We will have been married for 10 years. So that is my dolly confession number 1. Not one that many people that know me actually know about me, but now I guess the secret's out. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any dolly confessions to make, please make them below in the comments, because I'd love to hear what yours are. If any of yours are the same as mine, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know that I'm not the only unusual one that has some of these weird quirks about me. But if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I'm also trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before 2021. So if you like this video, please share it with a friend and ask them to subscribe. I would love to be able to hit that milestone for the new year. And I appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, her arm won't move. We'll do Nancy. Bye-bye.